Hello, and thank you to Eric and student government. And I'd like to also thank my colleagues in the military as well. My road to becoming the Director of Veteran Affairs is a very convoluted and roundabout road because I can identify with what I heard earlier about feeling guilty, feeling like you're not a veteran. I signed up for the Army Reserves because my parents were immigrants. They came to this country looking for education, and they found CUNY. By enrolling in CUNY, they were able to get their master's degree, and they decided to live this dream of returning to their home country in Tobago, that's the island of Tobago, in the 70s when the economy dipped in New York. So returning to Tobago was a very ideal situation for them. And it was exciting for me in one sense, being an American living on an island. But I was lucky where I graduated from high school at 16 years old. So in order for me to begin college, CUNY would not have been the ideal place to begin as a public university while my parents were in another country. So I ended up going to a Christian college in Alabama, of all places. And about a year or two later, the economy dipped in the Caribbean where the dollars were devalued. So instead of paying tuition 2-to-1, all of a sudden the US dollar became 7-to-1. So I decided as the oldest in my family to go join the military because all my male cousins said all these wonderful things about the military. So I listened to their advice. They told me what to do. They said, don't join the Marines. That was the first thing. They said, you're too tiny, you're too timid, it doesn't make sense. Just don't join the Marines. So I said, okay. What's the difference? So they explained, okay, Army is good, it's, male, it doesn't matter. Air Force is ideal. You want to go to college, you want to help pay for your tuition, make sure you're in the reserves, the Air Force is ideal. I couldn't find an Air Force recruiter. The only person available was the Army, so I was excited about joining the Army part-time, as they call this, weekend warriors, who only had to give service one weekend a month after basic training. But the most exciting thing was actually being in advanced training, which is called AIT. This was at Fort Sam Houston, my second summer. I got to train with so many different people from all over the world. Some were new to the United States and were able to join the military. And just learning medical techniques as an emergency medical technician, I felt so important. And years later, because of the reserve component, where you're sort of balancing between the civilian world and the military world, I ended up having a daughter and moving from state to state. And I missed some of my once-a-month training. And after about a year or so, I felt guilty. It was almost a year. And I went into a recruiting station looking for some advice just to find out how could I be in compliance, because I didn't want to have anything on there's a defense document called DD-214, as though I was absent without leave, AWOL, or misconduct. So this gentleman from heaven, I would say, he was very instrumental in helping me reestablish myself, find the road back into the reserves. And I started training once again. And no sooner than maybe a year, when my daughter was barely 8 months old and I was nursing her, I was told, you have to go away for 2 weeks. That was very difficult because for an 8-month-old, it's a little traumatizing not to see your mother for literally 2 weeks. And I can remember when I returned, at first she looked at me in a strange way like, you look familiar, but I know you. And 2 or 3 hours later that evening, when I was playing with her, all of a sudden she just grabbed me and started giggling. Then I said to my sister, wait a minute, I think she just realized who I was. So based on that experience, I had this paranoia where I said, if anything should happen, I don't think I'll go beyond 2 weeks anywhere. It wasn't even a year in 1991 when Desert Storm started. And I was told, listen, you're going to be activated. Most likely they're going to send you away. You have a choice. Either you sign up, not sign up, and you have to go in, or you can ask for an excuse not to be activated because you're a reservist. I was in shock because back then you were told you were a reservist and you're the last to go, but somehow it changed. That's where the guilt started. I decided there was no way after that experience when my daughter almost forgot me for 2 weeks that I would just go away and be activated because I didn't know what was coming down. It could have been 2 weeks, it could have been 2 years. So years later, I found myself not downplaying the whole military thing because I'm not a veteran. I felt, yes, I was in the reserves for almost 7 years. I trained, I ended up getting a wonderful job in the 90s, $15 an hour in the emergency room of a hospital, helping assist patients, etc. But I kept avoiding the whole military past, but it kept coming back to me. 1 year I started working as an assistant registrar for transfer credit, nothing to do with the military. No one in the office knew military lingo. So they came to me, they said, I think you mentioned you were in the military, can you review these transfers? So there we go, I was back involved somehow with the military. After reviewing credit, and next thing I know, I was advising students, helping with information at the College of Staten Island. So then I moved on to central office, dealing again with transfer credit. The issues came up. Military students are looking for transfer credit. How can we help them? Central office needs to know more information on credentialing, MOS. What does this mean? What does the DD 214 have? So all of a sudden I became this translator again on military. Eventually, the position came up about the Director for Veteran Affairs. After being involved with so much about credentialing, transfer credit, how do you help military folks transition? All I could think about is my experiences at CUNY, how there were so many departments or faculty members or administrators or even programs like the SEEK program, Search for Education, Elevation, and Knowledge, where people really handheld you and guided you into what to do. So many of our veterans come back, especially in CUNY or wherever in New York City, any state or country, or part of this country, and they're not clear on what to do. I felt that this is my role, this is where I can give back. I can literally make sure that the transitions are smooth. They're not looking to figure out, okay, how do I re-navigate back to civilian life? Most people assume because a veteran was in civilian life before, why can't they just go back? But it's not the same. It's not a smooth transition returning back. So one thing I'm grateful of beyond the guilt and how I'm handling this whole aspect of the military past coming back now with the present, I feel I can advocate now for veterans. We have 3,000 plus veterans at CUNY. At least 880 are women. There's so many issues that come up with our veterans. So I'm happy now that I can advocate as well as look to assist with employment or credentialing for our veterans. So in the essence of time, I'll just say that I'm very happy to be invited here, and I'm also happy to meet my colleagues in the military, and I'm hoping that we can connect with future endeavors as well for our veterans of New York City. Thank you.
Thank you.